Got it. Understood. Operation procedures. Yes, sorry. So stuff on the airfield, not necessarily airfield markings, although they might fall into it, you know. And gosh, what else is in operational procedures? There's loads of stuff, isn't there? About when you should and shouldn't embark an aircraft. There's a whole load of things in there. Anyway, but we're going to sort of try and do some of the fun stuff. We'll have a little wander around the airfield, look at some of the markings. I know that's potentially not necessarily operational procedures. Up the tower, go see how they operate, which is always a good thing. See what they do. So Ewan and Tony are up there today. So they're going to talk us through a few bits and pieces. We'll hopefully hear the fixed wing at 6:30. Yeah, so that'll work out about right. We'll head up there shortly. Good. Any questions at the moment then? Oops, how do I get that back up? Sorry, I'm on my phone, so bear with me. Screen's gone blank. Did you find settings? When earth?
Zoom. Oh, yeah,
yes, I usually do it all on my laptop. Oh my god, what have I done now? I'll do that. Right. Okay, I'll leave it. It's fine. Any questions about operational procedures? Let's go quick before something else goes. Right, come on in. Yeah. So something that just cropped up, of course, was should we wear high vis? Yeah, definitely. We are supposed to. That's all right. It's okay because you know if you stick with us, we've yeah, of course we have. As I say, as long as in a group, as long as we've got a good idea, is to sort of have one between three, for instance, is plenty.
Well, we might as well.
Yeah, don't want to be odd one out, do you, Grant?
Not be the one that gets run over. As well. I'm telling my kids to wear IVs.
Good. When they're cycling and various things.
Well, yeah, they both ride motorbikes, and they were both dead against wearing high vis until I showed them a picture. When I did the advanced driving course, there was a picture of two pictures the same, one with a rider with and without high vis.
Oh dear.
When I showed them the picture, so they both wore them.
Funny enough, they don't mind wearing them now.
You lock that, haven't we?
I did lock it. Double check it, please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think you're a bit
Yeah. Oh, you can pop the latch down, Malcolm, just in case we do need to come in that way for some reason. As in,
What? Resi rooms, though. Yeah, yeah, I'm just going to leave it.
oh, that. That felt funny. Oh, it's the bottom one. That's better.
Okay.
Good.
Mine's
Right. Ready?
Yeah.
Come on, let's head off outside.
I'm sure how chilly it will be.
Hmm.
Sorry?
I think so. Somebody be kind enough to grab Suva's arm. Well, I say grabbing it on me. Link arms. Hey, that's it. So, you know, there's obviously lots of signage around the airfield for obvious reasons. Not everybody realises it's not a good idea to go wandering out through the gates in amongst aircraft. I say it's obviously going to be quiet at the moment because it's sort of after hours. Did you say you're flying tomorrow, Josh?
Yeah, fly from Campbell River down to Ucluelet, which has mean nothing for anyone who doesn't know Vancouver
Yeah,
Island.
I'm just going to pretend and I'm nodding at the moment. Oh yeah, yeah. Nice.
Flew last week too, just to sort of, you know, keep hours up. Try and fly once a month.
Yeah, in the 44.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. How's the hangar and the house going?
Oh, mate, it's great. I flew a Cirrus fixed wing.
Did you?
Yeah, amazing.
They're quite an aircraft. I mean, I've not flown one or even been in one, but everybody says they're A mean bit of kit.
I reckon that they're the hill version, the HX50 version of a
Oh,
fixed
yeah.
wing.
Yeah, they do seem to certainly rate them, that's for sure.
Yeah, amazing
Can't
aircraft.
keep up with Malcolm and Sue.
Have you seen the new glass cockpits in the R44s?
I did see an image of one a little while ago. Yes, I've not seen them firsthand.
I'd like to see that.
I think they put the Aspen screens in possibly Garmin 1000. I don't know I can't remember what's in it now.
Three axis autopilot.
Helisas, yes. Got to be careful. Strictly speaking, it's not autopilot. A stability augmentation system.
Right.
If it's the Helisas, that is.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but be interested to see it.
More science, yes.
Landed on the snow on the top of a mountain last week. That was different.
Did you?
Wow, that sounds cool.
Yeah, well, of course, it's winter time for you, isn't it? There, I see.
Oh,
Well,
no,
just coming into
we're
winter,
coming
isn't
into
it?
Summer. Just it's still on top of the mountains. It's still covered in snow.
Ah, okay. Oh, this way.
What's the altitude, Josh, of the
Yeah.
mountains? Or the
Where I
height?
landed was 6,500. 6,500 feet.
6,500. Cool.
Yeah. Yep, fair enough.
Right. Thank you. Okay, come on. Yeah, come on. Hello.
Hello.
Sorry, save them online. Watch out. So, look, don't mind. Look, there's you and Tony.
You thought I'd time it just when something's coming back.
Oh, is there? Oh, perfect timing. Well, there's a few viewers online at the moment.
Is there?
Yeah, that's right. And the rest of the crew are coming up at the moment. So what have you got coming in?
Oscar Lima Echo.
Ooh.
Today?
Good afternoon.
I should say. Well, depends whether it's your Zulu or not.
Yeah. You okay with this, Tony, being off camera? You all right there? Fine, good. So, Tony,
Not they go out further, Roger.
On the radio, quite often we hear sort of a bit of a clackety clack in the background when you're talking. What on earth is that? No, I'm talking about the board. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the strips. Yeah. So what's that do then? What's that all about?
So when the aeroplane calls up coming in, he goes into the top slot. You've got the circuit and you've got the runway. So as he goes in, when you call downwind, it goes down to there. But he's on straight in approach, so I put him up there, down there when he calls 4 miles. And then he will call at full building 2 miles. And then when he calls final, he'll go into that slot down there.
Brilliant. So each section of board represents.
The board represents something. So this is booking now.
Mm-hmm.
That is fuel. So you've got jet A1 and avgas. So anything that goes to fuel, we put in there. And we annotate the strip with an S for fuel. And then they move across the board. So when they call up for taxi, we move into there, we put the taxi in slot, and then they progress across the board. So this is the runway slot. So we know that whenever anything is in there, we've given the runway to that aeroplane. So if anything else calls up, let's go Alpha. So yeah, I'll put 4 and 2 on the neck.
Mhm.
He's coming on a straight approach. So
Oh, that's the 4 and 2 mile finals, is it?
the fancy strip that you and us filled out.
Oh, look at that.
For the flight strip. So this is how the flight ship works. So you've got takeoff and landing time, school information or any information in there, fuel or something. And then you've got the aircraft registration, the captain's name, what he's doing. That's supposed to be an L, which is for local.
It's a fan.
And then
Yeah.
two people on board. And then you move into there and it works vice versa. So anything that's taxiing out will then move into the runway slot, and then they either go into this bit here, if they maintain the circuit, or they'll go into that and they go off on a local flight. If they are staying on frequency, they stay in this slot. If they are going off the frequency, but they are returning to us, they'll just go above it. So we can instantly look at that and say, right, if I hand over to you and I can say QNH is this, and so he's off frequency, or in this case, he's on frequency. If they come out for no need to respond, instant wind at 160 degrees at 7 knots.
Look at that perfect timing. One coming into land. Now, often when we tell people this is actually how.
Charlie Green, Lima Romeo, good evening to you. This is Elstree Radio. Frequency 5, we're on runway 26, it's a right hand circuit, and the QNH 1001. Off Lima Romeo, Roger, and have you taken fuel?
We don't need fuel, so we just park next to it.
Okay, no problem. Great, Golf, Alpha, 180 backtrack, can you taxi Alpha, no body traffic. Back to Alpha, there is one aircraft that's coming up from the fuel to go to Bravo.
It's there, isn't it?
But it will remain there because he's taxiing on the runway.
On the runway.
So when he comes off of the runway, I'll pass him over to my able colleague here, who will then enter all the details into the log of that one.
So it often surprises people when we tell them this is how it's done.
Yeah.
They say to us, well, surely you just see them all on radar. Why do you need it?
Like radar there, but we're not allowed to use it. It's forbidden by the CIA because it's their radar.
Yes, that's right.
Radar unit.
Yeah.
We can use that for our own benefit.
It's like awareness, isn't it? Which is quite good.
What is around?
Yeah.
It gets very complicated when you've got 5 or 6 aircraft inbound and stuff in the circuit as well. So it's handy to look at that to actually know all the room, because it can get quite complicated.
Yes.
Because unlike the rotary, where you've got your circuit, you come in Alpha, Bravo or Charlie, the fixed wing can join overhead, they can join downwind. Off Echo Alpha, no reported traffic, ship.
So there's quite a few different ways they can join, isn't there?
Quite a few different ways they can join. So when you get aircraft joining overhead, they descend on the dead side. So we've got runway 26, which is going that way, and it signifies that we're doing a right-hand circuit. So when they do, they keep in the circuit, they're going around that way. If it's a left-hand circuit, they're going to the south. And when they join overhead, they join on the dead side. So we're on 26 right-hand now. So the dead side is on 26 left. So they then descend to circuit height and then rejoin the circuit overhead, and they filter into the downwind traffic. So if there's a lot of traffic, it's a good thing to have something visually displayed there, so you can actually see where it's all working.
Because in reality, if you can see things on the screen over there, they won't say that's radar because it's not.
No.
Actually, you won't necessarily see everything up in the sky because there's potential parts of the buildings in the way, isn't there?
Yeah.
So this
so
gives
we're
you
on the southern circuit. As soon as they disappear behind those trees, they then most of the downwind is behind the hangar.
it's completely blind, isn't it?
Until there.
Yeah. However, with the board, yeah, no.
The thing to do is, so when we have somebody doing circuits, excuse the scribble out because they changed the registration of the aeroplane, but he took off at 13:53. His first touch and go was 59, and we write them all down. 2 things. One, if anything happens, we can actually refer to the flight strip. If there was an investigation or anything like that, we can say he done a touch and go at 59. Whatever happened after that happened. But it serves as a reminder of how many circuits they've done, so that we can record them, so that we can charge accordingly. But also, it's 6 minutes around the circuit.
Yes.
So when you've not got sight of an aeroplane behind the hangar, you can look at the strip. Rather than look at that, the easiest thing to do is look at the strip, and you can say, well, he actually done a touch and go at time 59, and it's now time 2 minutes past the hour. So he's around about halfway around the circuit. So he's going to be around about here.
That's good, isn't it? But you doing that every single time for all the circuit traffic?
Yeah.
No
yeah.
way. every time they touch and go, you'll write down that minute.
Yeah, we do.
Good grief.
It's important for several things, as I said, so that we know where the aeroplane is. We can judge where the aeroplane is. Excuse me. Secondly, it's for a charge reason.
Yeah, that's the dodgy bit, but
we have
yeah.
to put down how many touch and goes they do.
Of course.
Lastly, if there's anything happens to the aeroplane, the CIA or the AAIB can come to us and say, when did he do the last touch and go? And we can say that time.
Yeah, that all makes sense, doesn't it?
Makes sense why you want PPR by email, then, as well, not phone call.
Well, yes. So we
You read that and it sounds so strange. We bet later.
Yeah, don't worry. We'll come to you in a second. He's not going to escape this.
We get very busy up here.
Yeah.
You know, and
It's
it's a nice quiet minute at the minute, you know, but it gets really, really busy, especially at weekends. And we haven't got, even though there's only one person on the radio, the whole point of having second person there is as a second pair of eyes as well. But not only that, but the admin side of it's quite important. But when you get the phone ringing, runway 260 is 2 degrees.
I'm assuming one of you two are still dealing with the PPR requests on email, right?
Yes. To take it and write all the information in. And if it's for prior, for a future day, then we put them all on strips. We've got them on a little clip there. So that's all the future booking stuff. So the locals don't normally do far out, but some of them do. Like we had one out today that went to Bremen and is coming back on Sunday. So we fill out 2 strips there where he's gone out today, and then.
But I guess you can, to a certain extent, unless the arrival time is very near, you can sort of do it at your leisure. It's not saying you've got to deal with immediately. Like the phone's ringing.
Oh, it's like when we come in the morning and we've got a whole load of emails. Obviously, the imminent
20 or 30 emails.
Yeah, you've got to look at them tonight. Once half an hour away.
It's not fancy.
But we do fill the strips out.
Whenever I book in, I invariably get a response really quickly. So
it's just that we have all sorts of things going on up here, and as I say, it's very, very busy. And a second pair of eyes helps as well, because I might be looking at something, and you might spot something else somewhere else and say, "Hold on, that bloke's going onto the runway, and he shouldn't be." So
there's some mad fool out there with no high vis on taking photographs. Oh, there really is. I only said it was a joke. I didn't realise there actually was. Whoops. Oh yeah, I honestly.
About now, just
well, they're passengers. They've been on the aeroplane, so.
No, so we just take
The airport police scoop them up, Alex, and take them away and lock them up for a week.
Yeah, that's so in the hangar issue.
It is what it is. Not everybody. And if we tried to enforce it, we'd have our ground guys going out every 2 seconds to something that we've got high business. So.
And this crops up in the safety meetings, and yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't want to get too heavily into that, but yeah,
It's the ones that wander towards the helipad.
It's, I was going to say, the ones that wander with their backs towards us and those sorts of things when the when the rotors are spinning and thing.
And the importance of actually passengers not understanding how dangerous an airfield is. You know, it's been, as Paul will know, it's been brought up several times about people using their mobile phones. Last summer, we had a well-known celebrity off the radio. I won't mention her name, but she went walking across the apron backwards, filming herself as she was going towards a helicopter.
Yeah.
And I think it's been said to you guys before that, especially you walk behind the group of people and keep an eye on them. The guy, it was a private pilot, and he had come to pick 2 people up, and he was already halfway to the helicopter, and she was still.
Oh no!
No,
so she was unattended.
Yeah.
Yes. She wasn't taking a blind bit of notice of what was going on. Nothing happened, luckily, but it's just it can happen.
So you would have seen me going over the years.
Oh, yeah,
but as much as I've spoken to them, you'll find someone as you walk across and they're suddenly walking and they've got their phone out and they're the ones that will trip over the skid. They're the ones that won't listen. They won't stand still when you're trying to swap them over. And, well, there you go. Yeah. But
So this is us in a nutshell. So
It justifies the landing fee too, you see.
Hey, that's right. Yeah, see, everybody can see now.
You should look at that and go, how much
I've got to be careful what I say here.
Yeah.
It was always, when I first started here, it was always one person in the tower if it was bad weather.
Yeah.
We fought hand, tooth and nail to actually get that overturned.
It makes sense.
Because times like this, there's nobody in the office downstairs. If Paul was here, he'd be up in his office and then he'd go home. We've got nobody with us apart from the ground crew. And they're over the other side of the apron there. You know, if anything happened to the person on their own, then, you know.
You were alone working pretty much.
So we now have 2 people in the tower at all times. I mean, when I first started this morning, I would have been told don't bother coming in until midday because the weather's going to be bad this morning. So, you know, and it was, but you know, there's still things to do. You know, you walk in and there's still paperwork, and we do the log, and we do a school charge sheet. I've been running over Luton Radar 129 days.
Oh yeah, the charge sheet. I'll get my hands on them. Amend it a little bit. Get the tip exercise. And also, who would play in the PlayStation with Ewan if he was here by himself? You know. No, it's good, isn't it? It's much better too. Yeah, it's good.
Busy though.
Oh, it can be manic, can't it? It can be absolutely flat out.
I'm on the board and Tony goes to the toilet, and then the phone rings. The conversation. And they're never sort of succinct and to the point. They always sort of, hi, how you doing? It's like I'm on the radio. Exactly. So
we don't have to be rude, you see. We're just, but it's especially if you're Ewan's an examiner, aren't you? RT examiner. When you look at the publication 413, it almost sounds rude, doesn't it? There's no please, there's no thank you, there's no hello, there's no goodbye. It's just to the point, isn't it?
You know, it's Ewan had to show the LE people around today, and I was on my own up here, and they were flying 4 flights at a time, and I got another aircraft doing circuits and one that wanted to come in, and the phone was ringing. So, you know, I couldn't answer the phone because I was too busy moving 4 airplanes around the sky. And, you know, so there is the odd occasion when one of us won't be here. We obviously have to have comfort breaks and this, that, and the other. So,
is there a certain time limit that you can book a PPI in advance?
No.
So you can put one as far in advance as you like,
No,
pretty much.
I mean, if you look at that strip, I think there's one for the 22nd of
June.
No, is it really? Goodness me.
Yeah.
You must know something about the weather we don't.
This is our flight strip, our flights strips for that we know about tomorrow at the minute. So we've got
But I wouldn't dare book one out for tomorrow. Yeah, the things just change so quick, don't they? Times, weathers, and various things. I understand what to do. I suppose if they're it's ideally going ahead, a trip or something along those lines, or
so you see different colours on here. So because we've got all the strips are black, all airfields are different that use flight strips. Some of them use different colours for rotary and fixed wing, but we just use the black strip and we just put the registration in pink when it's a rotary, so that we can instantly look at that board and see that it's a rotary. We just highlight it in blue if they're doing circuits. But this is what we've got. We've got 5 booked out for tomorrow. We've got 2 booked in. One of them will be here before any of us are out of bed. He gets in about 6:30 in the morning to.
Oh yeah,
pick some
I've seen him come in sometimes. Multi-fly, isn't it? Big dough fan.
And so we're sort of get to this point in the day where we've only got one outline at the minute.
No, not necessarily.
So the question was, does someone need to be here for the 6:30? Does someone need to be here for the 6:30 one?
No, I travel quite a long way, so I normally get here.
Okay.
As Paul will know, because I speak to him quite
Yes, right, yeah.
I live in Sandy, Bedfordshire, and the A1 our start time is 8:30 and the airfield opens at 9.
Yeah.
But especially in the summer, our inbox is empty at the minute, but we'll come in tomorrow morning. And if it's going to be a really nice day tomorrow, that inbox could have up to 30 or 40 emails in it that we have to go through.
And this is why you ask us at least half hour in advance, don't you? Which is fair enough.
Yeah.
Totally get that.
The emails over the phone call booking it. So it always helps.
Yeah, that's right.
So I always get here about 7 in the morning. I do.
Depending on the type of operation, no, they don't necessarily. So the airfield's open 24/7, effectively, isn't it, for certain types of operations?
It's
not for training.
It's a complicated one, isn't it? It's only open 24 hours for account holders or residents.
Yes.
If it's a visitor, they have to come in within the hours of our operation.
So we're lucky we can come and go all day long as necessary, basically. They say if you were to visit, then no. It just need to be during the operating hours.
Yeah. We got in yesterday morning, and all of our conversations are recorded.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I know that. I'm well aware of that, don't worry.
Got a little.
So I never say anything bad on my way.
So it's been handy in quite a few.
Yeah, of course.
There's a few investigations that have happened into pilots, and they said I didn't say that, but we said there you go, there it is on tape.
That's right.
But it's all recorded.
Oh, is that a requirement now, actually, or is it just it's a good idea too?
A lot of airfields do it, don't they?
Yeah, and where that.
I don't think it's a requirement.
It's not a requirement.
Not sure it's an actual requirement, is it? But it makes sense because, as you say, then if you need to analyse, yeah.
One of the reasons that we do it is because someone will come in tomorrow morning. If they don't get here till 8 o'clock in the morning, that flight has already happened.
Yes.
So flight radar is great, but it's not 100% accurate. Quite often you can go on and type in the registration and you look at it and think, oh, the last flight was back in January on flight radar. So on there, it records when Paul's coming in from private landing site Barclay, it records him coming in and he will call Elstree information on Elstree traffic. And it's got a timestamp on the recording, so we know when he calls final, then we know that that is roughly when he landed. So that's another reason we have the recording. I got in yesterday morning, and there was a movement for a police helicopter at 12 on Thursday morning. What day was Monday morning? Police helicopter came in for fuel at 20 past midnight. So
Goodness me.
Rotaries it's open 24 hours, and we have had a few residents go out ultra early recently as well. We've had an SR22 that went out around about 3 o'clock one morning, and G Fitzy, the PC12 down there, sometimes goes out really early. So
it's fuel self-service now?
For jet fuel.
For jet fuel?
Yeah.
I see Grant thinking like, oh, so if I come in, right?
Have gas self-service.
Yeah, they're getting there.
Which works really, really well. Yeah.
It's very common in Europe. You
Yeah.
fly across France and it's all just rock up the pump, put your card in, fill up, and off you go again. Yeah.
Walden does. Been in there that side of hours and just filled up.
Some reason we trust the jet fuel users, but not the gas.
What are they trying to say?
it was only yesterday morning that Geraldine came up from downstairs and said, I'm 138 litres down on the payments for the average. So,
Goodness me.
so there are people who, it might be just a slip of the mind, you might forget to put it in the book.
I have done it before and I've filled up. I was gone to get in the helicopter and suddenly, and I didn't literally write stuff. Gone back, written it down. Yeah.
And you don't need the ground crew to do it.
No.
But you mentioned a word. You said something about a blind call. What's that? Is that we shut our eyes?
A blind call.
So, because of course you know our movements, even though you're not here, because they're recording our.
Yeah, that's really what you call a blind call.
Yeah.
When you call traffic, because you don't know, you arrive on the frequency and you don't know what other aeroplanes are on that frequency.
Yeah, that's it.
So you know, if you're out flying on a lovely summer evening, our hours of operation are 9 o'clock in the morning until sunset, or 2000, whatever comes first. That's when we're on duty. Anything outside of that, you already call traffic, and that's what you call a blind call, because you don't know what's on frequency. And then the whole point of the traffic is that then somebody will chip in and say, "Oh, I'm a PA28 and I'm downwind for runway 26 or something."
That's what we've done.
Yeah.
When I come in with you.
That's right.
And you said, right, you call. There's no one there, but let them know.
Yeah, so we still, even if we know nobody's there, we still do our radio calls just in case somebody else is on frequency, and then we can talk to one another and work, like Tony said, work out where. It often happens when I come in the morning. If if I'm really early and nobody's here, there might be another aircraft departing. It's just we don't have a chat. Hello, how are you today? Blah blah blah. But yeah, just let them know where we all are, and it works quite nicely then.
So,
but when it's busy, I mean, gosh, you could have. Well, you could easily have, say, 4 helicopters in the helicopter circuit.
3 in the fixed wing.
3 in the fixed wing, plus departing and joining both fixed wing and helicopters, can't you?
So I remember a Saturday, sort of a couple of years back, when I'd got aircraft coming in, and this went up the wall to here. And that was just aircraft that were joining. So it was quite a busy day.
Yeah, judging by the length of the circuit, because our circuit's barely 6 minutes as well. In fact, ours is less than that, it's about 4 minutes. I was trying to think, right, well, if we had 4 of us in the circuit, that's one every 60 seconds at least, plus anything coming and going, plus the fixed wing circuit.
Yeah.
So you'd have something touching down or taking off within every 45 or 30 seconds, I think, at one point I worked out as.
So we count the movement as a takeoff and a land or a landing. So we can regularly have sort of days where we have 400 to 500 movements a day.
The year after COVID, we done, what was it, 81,000 movements?
Yes, quite
the busiest general aviation airfield in the country. So you might get neighbours, don't you?
Yeah. Moving on swiftly.
The airfield has been here.
Well, funny enough, operational procedures, I think noise abatement does crop up in that subject, doesn't it?
And we almost know all of them
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, we do our very best to
You know, my favourite saying is though, the airfield was here before you moved here.
Absolutely.
So,
We get daily abuse via emails.
oh yeah,
Oh, do you still do you?
yeah.
Oh no, I thought it all
Every day, I think it's
We've got
somewhere
an
in that way in there.
untraceable one used a different IP address and swaps it all around.
no, they're using like a VPN or something to just hide themselves.
Wielders changed circuit. The locals managed to get the circuit at North. It's like a triangular shape now because they can bang back the noise so much.
We'll just edit that bit out. Don't worry.
We get very abusive language from this person. And if we could get hold of this and pinpoint who he was, the police would be around there.
Oh really? I was that
Yeah.
is it?
But he has threatened aircraft, so
Or because well, yeah, you know.
tell
You
you
say,
a
well,
funny-
why should I? It's my home. Get it, you know.
I'll tell you a funny story. Was it that a couple of years ago? Somebody phoned up and threatened to shoot an aeroplane down.
No.
Little old woman.
Dearly.
The police went round and she was about 70 years old and said, "You threatened to shoot an aeroplane down." Well, I was only joking.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not they take that quite seriously.
Quite serious. Because in this day and age, you don't know
Yeah.
if it's a credible threat or not. So, but, yeah.
You can hear noise. No, I was just saying, you know, noise abatement. It is a definite thing, isn't it? You know, we try to be as careful as we can, and it's not normally linked necessarily with safety, but
yeah,
we're trying to avoid the locals in the built-up areas.
We talked about it. Actually, it was this morning, wasn't it? About you know, you can tell by the strips when somebody's doing circuits whether they've actually done a proper circuit or not. Because if it's less than 5 minutes,
Oh, it's, yeah.
cut a corner somewhere. So you know, and one that sticks out is when they come in base leg for runway 26 when we're on the left circuit, you can see them cut the corner on base leg and join on about half-mile final.
Oh, well, they're doing that just to purely get more circuits in.
But it doesn't always lend itself to be a good thing when you've got aircraft that are waiting. You're expecting that guy to be not on final for another 2 or 3 minutes, which is quite important because you could let an aeroplane go in that time, and which is the whole point of FISO and air ground, because we can't say, we can't instruct, we can only advise, yeah, especially with the radio, which is on the radio controller. If I have an airplane at the end of Bravo wanting to depart, I say, "Oh, there's traffic on," and it happens regularly. I say, "There's traffic late base about turn final," and they say, "Well, line up and take off," and I can't say anything to them because I can't instruct them to hold position, and you can't either, can you? You can say, you can,
I can,
you can, yeah.
Because they're not on the runway yet, are they? So
No.
Yeah.
Look. Yeah.
But you provide very good information for us to. We're supposed to be as good pilots, aren't we? Take that information and use it wisely.
Yeah.
Oh,
So if you tell us there's something on final approach, it's probably not a good idea to go and line up or cross the runway or something.
Yeah, because you don't know what's going to happen. You might line up and all of a sudden you put the power on and
What's that,
your engine
Carl?
stalls. You know.
Well, just saying this is a really interesting point.
Mm.
As a complete novice, you know, just starting the PPL course, that's there's an assumption there that
Yes.
if you really matter, which that is, I guess. You'd have thought the slightly casual and a collegiate relationship you have with the punters and you guys being in control, you actually aren't able to stop a kind of infringement that's bordering on a safety thing.
Yeah.
An aircraft we should hold and not enter an active runway with an aircraft on approach. I'm just clarifying that's what we're talking about. You're saying actually we can't stop them getting on runway. That's really interesting.
It is, but that's the whole thing with air traffic. I mean, you know, I'm air ground, so I can only give traffic information. I can't tell you to taxi to Bravo, whereas Ewan is flight information, and he can say taxi to the Bravo hold, report on final, report downwind. He can say that, whereas I can't. Or I can, if an airplane calls downwind, I just say Roger, and I say if there's any traffic in front of them, I'll say traffic in front of you for full stop landing or for a touch and go or something like that. You know, when I think there's a little bit of a conflict when aircraft are taking off and there's rotaries on the north side, I'll say there's a rotary operating on the north side. But you know, they don't always need to know that because most of the time they've got instructors with them anyway, and they know how it works and how if they're out of position they can conflict with fixed wing traffic on the main runway.
It's a common misconception, isn't it, that every airfield has air traffic control, but it's not, because so we've got
air ground. Is that the?
I'm air ground on the bottom of the pile.
Oh, don't say that, Tony. I'm on the bottom of the pile.
Ewan's a flight information, and then you get air traffic control.
So for people listening and understanding, so Ewan's near the top of the pile, whereas poor Tony's down there. So Ewan can get. I'm picking you up here. Come on, go. So are you therefore allowed to issue clearances
On behalf of an agency.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
So we can, so usually for here it would be on behalf of London Control.
Yeah.
I mean, I can do that as well.
Yeah, Tony can do it as well.
See, Tony's not at the bottom of the pile. Yeah.
I still have to word it differently. If I say it, if they can call it after departure information, I have to call it after departure details or something like that.
I often hear you sort of saying, and London instructs you to.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And here you're making it very clear. It's not Elstree instructs you, it's London instructs you to.
Some track to wherever they're going.
Mm.
The squawk and the frequency. So, but we can give that type of IFR clearance, but it's not like when you go to Luton or Heathrow and they say, give them the flight clearance. It's a different kettle of fish. So.
Because we often, sorry, I'm keeping you guys. Just show when you're. Yeah, please, thanks.
Yeah. Guys, I see at the bottom.
Because what's the difference between a clearance and an instruction? I mean, they sound, surely it's the same thing. Sorry, am I putting you on the spot? Yeah, sorry. But they are very different, aren't they?
Yes, I guess so.
Yeah.
It.
Well, a clearance is you are cleared to do something, whereas an instruction is more of a case of, this is what we'd like you to do, isn't it? So they're very, very different, and it's hard when we're teaching, trying to get students understand the difference between that. So we do try and make sure we take you at some point to somewhere that's got full-blown air traffic control, and you can hear the difference in you are cleared to, so you can actually hear those words. You're cleared to land. You're cleared to take off, etc., or cleared to taxi. So what we hear, we don't tend to hear it so much, but when you're giving instructions to the fixed wing, the planes taxiing around the taxiways, it almost sounds like a clearance, doesn't it? Quite often. Well, it certainly does to somebody listening.
Yeah, ultimately, pilot in command decides whether it's safe to fulfill that sort of taxi route.
Because what you're really giving them is a safe way to get from somewhere over there to, say, down at the fuel pump, isn't it?
Yeah.
Without ending up two planes facing one another, because they're not very good at going back. Because no.
Unless you're in a PC-12.
Unless you're in a PC-12, yeah, that's right. They can reverse.
So an instruction is like a micromanaging thing that has a clear boundary to it, whereas clearance is like an intention to do something. Or would that be a bit of a big summary?
Sounded reasonable.
Sorry.
Going back to your thing about the air ground, if I see an imminent incident happening, I can go outside of my remit and instruct something.
Okay.
That would make sense if you can see there's a real serious conflict of safety, isn't it?
Yeah.
The safety is about to be compromised. Absolutely.
Even air ground duty of care.
Of course, you couldn't just sit there and let something dreadful happen.
I used to work at Ceylon Aerodrome, and they've got 4 runways there. They've got 3 grass runways, and you get tiger moths and Spitfires. Tiger moths will only want to fly off the grass. The Spitfires will only want to fly off the runway, the hard runway. And that often meant that you've got an aircraft on final for runway 21 and an aircraft on final for runway 23. So at some point on the airfield, those two are going to converge. So it only happened a couple of times, but a couple of times I had to say, go around. There is traffic on the other runway on final. And I had an occasion where a visitor was coming in who was supposed to be going on the hard runway, but for some reason, only known to him, he decided to line up with one of the grass runways, and he was on short final. He called final. I'm looking out the window for him, thinking, where is he? And I can't see him on finals, the hard runway. And then out the corner of my eye, I saw him coming in on one of the other runways. And I said, instructed him to go around. There is traffic on final for the, or there's one on the runway rolling on runway 21. And he was supposed to be landing behind him, but he was coming across at an angle like that.
And the things like the visibility here, is a lot of it's aeroplanes. The visibility is terrible, isn't it? As in, you've got a great big cowling potentially in the way. Things like Spitfires are coming in quite nose up. They literally can't see what's ahead of them. So we take it for granted. Sometimes we forget what it's like in helicopters. The screens go right down to our feet and sometimes even under our feet. So we can see so well around us. We forget that it's not always like that. So it's really useful, helpful that we've got you guys.
Yeah, you guys are quite lucky.
Oh, we're spoiled completely. We forget.
X-Wing have got just about the worst concoction of stuff that would lead to an incident when you've got a high wing aircraft and a low wing aircraft.
Yeah.
So
the high wing can't see down. The low wing can't see down. The high wing can't see up above them. And oh yeah, yeah. Look, thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Ewan. Most helpful. Most definitely. It's always good insight because
Is that what it is?
no.
I'll have to double check that. I think it was.
It's always good for when you're learning to see what goes on behind the scenes or the other side of the radio. You know, it's not just the voices. They're definitely human people up there, isn't there? Yeah. But to see the board, to see what's actually going on as well.
Yeah.
And see what's happening.
We've got weather information as well. So we've got the little red and white pole out there. It's got a weather station on top of it which feeds this. So it gives us cloud base and it gives us the wind speed and direction. But that's all unofficial. If anybody phones us on the phone and says, what's the weather like at Elstree? We can't say, oh yeah, the wind is 140 degrees at 5 knots. We have to say unofficially because we're not allowed to say that. Because the reason behind that is because if you say to some guy on the radio, on the telephone, that the cloud base is 2,000 feet and the wind is in this direction,
it can change.
If something happens to him, then the onus will come back on us for saying, well, he'll say, they said the cloud base was 2,000 feet, but actually it was 1,000 feet.
We're not trained met observers. So.
If ever you phone up and say, what's the weather doing there, we'll always say, unofficially, it's...
That's right.
Start using that. You never do.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Unofficially.
Even when you come in on a day like today, where it was pouring rain this morning, the cloud base was low. If you phone up from Paul's office and say, oh, I'm supposed to go out flying, what's the weather? I can only say unofficially, and even Ewan can only say unofficially, the cloud base is 800 feet. So.
And that's international, everyone.
Sorry.
It depends.
International, everywhere. Unofficially.
No, because at Stansted they will tell you. What
they're obviously there.
Wind check. They will tell me what the wind is.
Yeah.
So bigger airports.
Bigger airports.
And their air traffic.
they're our traffic and also they're training men.
Yes.
So we can give you a wind. So we'll give you an instant wind because we've got a certified device to give the instant wind.
But that's only a snapshot. You know,
Okay.
an aeroplane will call final probably 30 or 40 seconds before it lands, and that wind can change in them.
And it depends on where it's positioned as well, the anemometer, etc.
Instant wind.
Yeah.
Because that's what we've looked at when you
Yes, that's right. You have to use your common sense. If it's southerly wind here, it's not desperately reliable, is it?
Definitely not.
No, it can be a 180 out, for instance, and it can be quite a few knots different as well.
6 knots. The wind stops 25.
Yeah, that's right. We're over the north side battling, trying to hover, you know. They say, no, it's only about a 3 knot wind. Put a 0 on that. Yeah, but you can only, strictly speaking, say what it says, can't you, at that moment?
Yeah.
But well, what can be really handy is you sometimes say, but we have seen it gust up to in the last, 5-10 minutes.
It's got the 2 minute, 10 minute average of what the wind has been. So the 2 minute average is up to 6 knots, and the 10 minute average is up to 11 knots.
That can sometimes be more useful, can't it? Because you get a better feel of what it could be doing. Yeah, just a moment ago, that's saying, look, 1 knot at the moment there. It's literally showing 1 knot.
I mean, the directions.
But as pilots, I mean, certainly in helicopters, we teach, look, take all this information, but you are the pilot. You need to work this out yourself, don't you? And look at all the clues as to, whether it's safe to continue that approach. We're quite lucky, aren't we? Because we can just sort of turn into the wind. We don't have to conform with the runway, certainly here. We don't.
Fixed wing, we're all over the place.
They'll say your discretion as well.
Yeah.
We've been talking
Responsibility is all on you.
Yeah.
That's right.
So whatever they say,
Right. Because everything's at your discretion. Yeah.
It's not trying to fool you or anything like that, or that. It's purely for our protection as well.
Leaving the final decision down to the pilot, isn't it?
Yeah, which is good because it makes sure you realise this is not an instruction to do that. It's not a clearance. It's not a you must. It's at the end of the day, it's at your discretion to continue that approach or bin it off and go around or whatever, isn't it? Yep, you've got to make that decision yourself, haven't you, as the pilot? Right, come on, we'll leave them in peace and go home. Thanks, guys. Thanks so much again. Safe journey.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Is that one of your doggies, Beth? I can see.
Yeah, that's Hugo that's come to see me.
Hey,
Lick me in my face.
he's joining a bit of ground school.
But he'll be coming in the helicopter as well, maybe.
Right, let's have a wander down to the helipad, shall we? Whilst it's nice and quiet.
That's okay.
And we'll try not to deviate too much from operational procedures, but it's a lot of this sort of stuff that we're doing at the moment is a common sense thing. I.e., although the airfield's lovely and quiet right now, it probably wouldn't be a good idea to walk straight in front of the propeller of a fixed wing, because just in case the pilot's in there, you can't see them, they decide they're going to start up. There should usually be a red flashing light on the back of the aircraft to warn you that it's operational.
I should.
But at the end of the day, we are on part of the manoeuvring area. This is all, could be live, couldn't it? I think people forget, don't they?
On day last week.
That's the PC-12 they're talking about. That one can go backwards. So this was the weather station over here. The unit down the bottom is the one that looks up at the sky. It looks at where the cloud is, and that's very useful for us. But it can literally look through the gaps in the cloud. So you have to watch out, because sometimes it reports the cloud is very high up, and in reality it's just looking through a hole straight in between the two lower bits of cloud. Little birdie. So they call this part Heli Apron East because, funny enough, it's a helicopter parking area, if you like, the apron that's to the east side, whereas right over there, we'll go around there in a minute, that's Heli Apron West.
Right. The other way.
So we label them so it's nice and easy to see. And just there are kind of spots out here. Now it gets slightly complicated because whilst these look like they're designated landing spots, it's still at pilot's discretion because some of them are quite close together. And depending on the size of the helicopters parked on it, you might not want to park too close to it. So it is at your discretion at the end of the day. This white line really actually just shows how far the fuel hose goes. So if you're having a refuel, you've got to make sure your fuel cap's within the white line, otherwise it won't reach. So that's what it should be if we pull that fuel hose out. Okay, just whilst I was down here, although it's a bit more kind of air law, but it's still operational at the end of the day. We've got some signs. I don't know if you can see them yet. We got yellow lines. So taxiway. And if I did I'm not going to, but if I did wander out onto the runway over there, there'll be white lines, which shows it's a runway. And we got some markings coming up. Double yellow, continuous. So that's a don't cross it unless you're allowed to. Whereas the other side is broken, which means you can come back towards me without necessarily having, I'm not going to say clearance, but instructions to do so. But yeah, we've got other signs. Then how you want to say it, yellow on black. Holding point, so holding point alpha. Whereas over here, black on yellow points to the taxiway. And then also, this is the holding point, as you can see, for the two runways, although it's one piece of tarmac over there. Depending on which way you're facing is either 080 degrees or 260 degrees. And you could hear everybody saying about the big buildings over here. So if it's southerly wind, which is funny enough is what it is today, that windsock is already suggesting the wind is easterly, but it isn't. I can feel it on my face down here, but it's just the way the wind deflects around the buildings. So we do have to be very careful with how much we trust the windsock, depending on its positioning. And there's one on the other side of the airfield. Now, ironically, that one over there, if you can see it, is probably going to be fairly accurate today because there's not a lot in the way of it. But there's trees right close to it, so if the wind's easterly, it's not very reliable at all. Come, should we wander over this? So you're right. So for us here at Elstree, this Heli Apron East is usually kind of used or reserved for the bigger helicopters, turbine helicopters, because they create an awful lot of downwash, and they don't mix very well necessarily with the smaller ones like the Robinson R22. Hello, little buddy, you're right. You don't look like you should be out. No, it's okay. Sure, it's a little one, wasn't it?
You.
No, don't be on the screen. Thank you. Seen enough of my face today. Beck has, certainly. I'm still here, look.
We could never tire of it, Paul.
Oh, bless you. You're on cloud 9, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're not coming back
I'll
down till
agree
at least
with anything.
tomorrow. So this is so Beth being in the Jet Ranger is usually over there, aren't you, Beth? That side. Heli Apron
that's
East.
my little patch there by the drain.
That's it. Yeah. It smells because the wind's blowing at the moment that direction.
Oh.
It's lovely. And this, oh yeah, that's fragrant, isn't it?
Yeah.
And this is Heli Apron West.
How long's this been here, Paul? Grant was
Oh
years,
gosh,
it's more than a couple of years, I'm sure.
pre-COVID?
That's what
I'm sure it's pre-COVID. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's been actually longer than we think now. I
That
realise.
was me why they've never designated this. 'Cause it's
Well,
free
I was just about to come on to that.
We seem to park
No,
around the
there's-
perimeter and leave that bit empty.
There's a reason. Yeah.
Now, there's so Grant's asked a very good question. How comes this one's got some numbers on it? And I've already just mentioned to everybody that's listening that online that it's got to be a bit careful because some of those numbers are a bit close depending on the size of your aircraft and all sorts of things. And they might not be technically spaced out as much as perhaps they should be depending on the operations. So depending on the type of operations in the size of your helicopter, you might have to have at least 2 rotor diameters before the next obstacle, but you can see the fence is very close. And anyway, so hence it's all at your discretion. So why isn't Heli Apron West got any numbers on it? It is literally, isn't it? And then I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in aerodrome planning and licensing, etc. But as soon as you put numbers on it, so this is a new apron, if you start numbering it, you've got to make sure that there's sufficient space between the biggest helicopter that could be operating off of here and then the next helicopter, especially if you're even contemplating simultaneous operations. So, you know, one coming into land whilst one's lifting, you definitely need 2 rotor diameters then, these sorts of things. And then in reality, that means you could probably only get 1, maybe 2 helicopters on it, tops, if you were doing those sorts of operations, especially if there's anything vaguely big. So by not marking it out, it becomes entirely at the that's right, pilot's discretion to decide whether it's safe and within their operating limitations.
Realistically, this big space is really 4 helis, 1 in each corner.
Yes, and then you got the slight issue of if you park in that corner, you could then get easily boxed in by one parking over here, one there, one over here. You get stuck in the corner if you're not careful.
Yes.
So it's well, it depends how you feel. I mean, I don't want to moan about it because it's good. It's much better than it was, that's for sure, without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah, you know, it's much better, especially in winter time. We're quite lucky because we can go on the grass up by the school when the it's still soft up there. It's still spongy. It's unbelievable.
It points out just how much room the helicopter needs to operate safely.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It really does. When you look at this,
yeah, if you get something big, I mean, you know, pretty big helicopter, that's it. This is big enough for one. That's all it is. However, you know, over here we're typically in R22s and Cadbury G2s and 44s. So you can quite safely get 4 on here with plenty of room around you, quite happily. But it wasn't quite big enough for the 6 or so that it was perhaps originally planned for. So we have loosely speaking got plans of all the way up there to have individual spots in a line separated, so you can easily get to and from them. You don't get blocked in at all in any way, shape or form with the right sort of spacing. But the plans are on hold at the moment, but that'll open it up quite a lot more.
was supposed to be coming in the next month or 2.
Supposed. Yeah, so there we are. There's a heli apron. And then for us in the helicopters, most, you know, the ones that fly, we've got the north side grass on the other side of the runway. And we're very lucky because that's just a big play area. We can do what we like over there within sensible reason, you know, not getting too close to runways, those sorts of things. But it's handy because you can have multiple helicopters operating in different positions on it, coming and going. So we're quite lucky to have that. Whereas a lot of aerodromes won't have necessarily that big an area just for helicopters to do all their quick stops, etc. So that's really useful. It's completely separate from the runway. All we've got to do is just be perhaps a bit conscientious and just depart at different times, so we're not right next to another aircraft as we take off, which is always a sensible thing to do, just in case one wanders over towards the other. Cool. Any questions of anything we've just been talking about? Soaking it all up, Kyle. Look. Oh yeah, it's like a sponge. Look. And Alice, all of this is quite new for you, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I can't think of you.
Enough as well.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, and of course, as always, don't expect you to remember everything, but it's a good introduction, isn't it? And sometimes it's nice to actually just have a chance to wander around and look at these things properly. Orientation, yes.
I suppose we take it for granted.
Yeah, that's right. We do. Yeah, because we're around here all the time.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at was because I've not seen the airfield from the tower's perspective.
Yes.
From the ground to say, oh, that's the approach from Bravo to come to North Side.
Yes. That's right. Yeah, you can see they've got. I mean, when I first came here, the tower itself was half the height.
Right.
So they really struggled to see what's going on. If you can imagine them sitting below, basically where see the bottom windows.
Yeah.
That was their windows, looking out. Oh, so they wouldn't see much at all. No, that direction they could see nothing on the approach because the trees are in the way. The trees have actually grown quite a lot now, so but they've got much better view. But you can see the board is so important for them because half the time they can't necessarily see aircraft out the window, but they can see their position or where they are on the airfield in the board. Yeah, that's the idea, isn't it?
It is.
Should we wander back?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's so once you do the first one. Paul, how long do you get to do your exams once you've taken your first one? Is it 9?
You've got 18 months
18 months. So once you
complete
take the first exam,
to complete the series.
18 months.
That's it. And then, assuming you pass the 9th one within that 18-month period, they're then all valid for another 2 years. So if you stretch it, you've got 3.5 years from start to finish from when you start the exams. But you don't have to start the exams straight away, but we encourage you to begin studying for air law and so forth. And aircraft general knowledge and principles of flight is always good to start dipping into.
Yeah.
But if for any reason, if your exams did all expire, it's frustrating, but you just have to take them again. It's not a case of that's it, you can never learn and have a license. You just have to retake them.
Yes.
I said read air law every couple of years.
Every couple of months.
Every couple of months. Yeah.
I'll go through the gate. Yeah, it's important to remember, isn't it, that see, when you learn to drive a car, you might have picked up the highway code, and then that was it, never ever again. But the idea is you should just keep topping up my knowledge. Things do change. Air law does change. Things have altered a little bit.
I thought that's what
Okay.
your Christmas quiz was about, Paul. Just keeping us up to date with our.
Yeah, the Christmas quiz. Yeah, well, yeah. Jokingly aside, there's a bit of truth in that, isn't there? It is about trying to just keep your knowledge topped up. Oh, my hand's aching. Sorry, I'll turn the phone around. That's it. Yeah, keep you interested, keep your knowledge growing rather than stagnate, or worse still, reduction in your knowledge. So most people know the rule is if you're this side of the gates, we're back over non-air side now. Of course, you don't need a high vis on other than for advertising. But if you want to walk through the gates, put your high vis on. That's it.
Always.
Yeah, it all makes common sense. The tower can see. The chances are you're probably supposed to be out there, not just a member of the public wandering around, because it does happen a lot. And
People just wandering.
oh, yeah, because I don't know why. Yes, people just think it's perfectly okay to just wander off in amongst the aeroplanes and all sorts. Something interesting here at Elstree, there is actually 2 public footpaths across the airfield. There's one over there, straight across the runway, and where we've just been, there's one that goes right the way through the helipad.
Are they regulated or controlled? How do you cross through that path?
Well, it's just put your head down and off you go. People do.
I'm sure it's
No, seriously, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
is it?
Yeah, it is. It really is. It's a public footpath.
Okay.
There's no-
high-vis.
There's no traffic light. It's just there's big signs to say, look, be careful. It's an active airfield. Use your common sense. Ideally, don't walk in front of aircraft. It does happen occasionally. Not you sure?
Yeah, we'll take time. Yeah.
But the whole, the good news is especially in helicopters, is it's very easy to change our course and our direction, speed, those sorts of things. So if there was a problem ahead of us, we're not hellbound on continuing that approach. We can just go around, or we can maneuver a different direction. So it's not a problem.
Quick stop, go.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. Suddenly this is where we're teaching you quick stops, isn't it? To avoid the conflict. It's turned out nice now. It's quite pleasant. A little bit fresh, but it's very calm.
Unofficial.
Unofficial, yeah, that's right. Unofficially. All those sorts of things are really just to highlight that they're trying to give us useful information, but making sure we realise that it's just read off the screen. It's only that's right. It's only what the meter says, what the piece of equipment says, and we should use that information wisely but carefully.
I mean, it's all really,
And it's only I think it's Ewan or one has only said it's a snapshot in time. It's only at that moment It doesn't mean to say it's
Quickly.
what it's doing in even in 5 seconds time. Right.
Putting pressure on your knee, isn't it?
Ah, well, it's better.
How's your hand feeling?
Slightly numb. It's okay.
Do you want me to hold it or anything for you?
It's okay. I've been swapping around. I'll be all right. No, I said I'd rather be this side if I'm honest for a change. With the camera lens, quite like this. Everybody else gets a go. It's normally me. You see my face on the screen all the time. So no, I'm fine. I'm quite enjoying this. Yeah, of course, no problem at all. So there we go. What questions have we got then? Anybody?
Can you take the exams in any order? Does it have to be?
You can actually take the exams in any order. There is no actual set order. It can be, but there's usually a common sense of order. For instance, air law, because we say that is the first exam needs to be passed before you can go solo. And so we wouldn't want that to hold you back, and that would make complete sense. For instance, I don't think it'd be a great idea to do a navigation exam straight away because you won't have even started navigation. So it'd be very tricky to pass that exam without having actual practical experience. So it's usually a good idea to have some experience practically of the exam you're trying to sit, so that it doesn't just become, what we don't want is exam just to be a memory test. You know, you've memorized the questions because the question banks and just found the right answer. We want it to actually mean something. Depth of knowledge is what we're after. And it's nice to put it into context of flying.
So you're doing it correctly by doing all the practice.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So if it comes to exams, we're going to read the books. You know, they're not particularly big. There's not too much in there. It's not too heavy going. Read the books. There are sample questions in there. We're here to help as well, assist as necessary, and those sorts of things. Top up your knowledge, and then potentially you're ready to sit that particular exam. Yeah, so it's not too bad. It's quite all right. But yeah, a sort of a natural order would be something like air law first, then human performance and limitations. Then we'd like to start getting into, which you will have been delving into anyway, aircraft general knowledge and principles of flight, because all your briefings, well, you know, you've just been through some, haven't you, Carl? We talk about exactly that, you know, principles of flight, flat back, phase, lag, advance, angle. There's all sorts of things in there, retreating blade stalls and God knows what else, and vortex ring. So we need you to have started that process of looking at those principles of flight. And your general knowledge of aircraft will grow anyway over time, of helicopters. Then MET, so the weather, because you'll have started to take a bit of an interest, and we've been pointing quite a few things out, and that's going to start to be quite key, because that usually makes or breaks certainly whether we go flying, doesn't it, Grant? So Grant's, well, he's got his license and helicopter. There's bound to have been a few times when the weather's scuppers your plans, or certainly maybe tweaks them a little bit, doesn't it? You have to alter your plans. Yeah, that's right. It's been tricky beginning of the year, isn't it? It's been very unpredictable. So of course that starts to be play a key role in what we're doing at the end of the day. And then we kind of get into that whole, you know, what have we got left is radio. I tend to suggest to people leave that not as a topic, but just as an exam till a bit later on. So you've got some quite good experience on the radio itself, because again, it makes the exam a little bit easier. Operational procedures, I tend to find yeah, we certainly used to be one of the most, it was the exam that people would fail. But there seems to be quite a better job of that nowadays. So I don't know if the questions have changed. And then finally, flight performance and planning and navigation. Because again, those two subjects are pretty big. And if you've got no previous experience of aviation or flying or anything like that, or to do with if you've been sailing, it's quite a lot to take on if you are heavily into prepping to go flying and navigating itself. So again, it will all make a bit more sense, and with all the briefings you've been through in the classroom. So that's what I suggest is the natural order along those lines. But it's not set. It's not set in stone. Yeah. Oh, Sarah. Any other questions? Anything we've sort of heard up the tower? Hopefully that was all well explained by Tony and Ewan, which was really good. You can hear the two levels that they've got up the tower.
I didn't realise there were 2 levels.
Yeah,
That's something I've learned.
and it's to the untrained ear on the radio, you wouldn't necessarily pick it up. We don't just mean they're different voices, but what level they're providing. But you'll hear if Tony's air ground, you won't hear so much. You certainly won't hear necessarily taxi instructions per se, or like I said, line up at your discretion on the runway, those sorts of things, or report downwind. So Tony won't say that, whereas Ewan will. But it's subtle. But you go to, you must have found it, Grant, by now. You go to some airfields, it's air ground. It sounds like air traffic control.
Or no radio at all.
Or no radio at all. That's right. It's just nothing. Yeah, there can be gaps in it, but
Old Walden was like, whoa.
Yep.
No radio at all, just line calls.
That's it.
But actually, it works really well.
Yeah,
Everyone,
because
as long as everyone does what they're meant to do.
That's right.
The airfield just works.
Yeah, of course it does.
Any control, any radio, nothing.
I've been to places where it works better without somebody on the other end of the radio. Yeah. You know, because the pilots all start to do the right thing. Everybody does the right thing.
That's the right thing.
You know, a bit like a roundabout, isn't it? Without traffic lights, everybody does the right thing. It works absolutely fine. Well, there we are. Aerodrome's almost, well, certainly circuit power is just like one giant roundabout, really, in some ways, isn't it? If everybody does the right thing, yeah, it works absolutely fine. And we all talk to one another on the radio doing our calls to say where we are and what potentially maybe we're about to do next, so stating our intention. Yeah, it works absolutely fine. And then I've been to White Waltham today, and that's sometimes you'll get a response on the radio and sometimes you don't.
Yeah,
you know?
that's not get any response at all.
No, potentially.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Which is quite unnerving if you learn somewhere like this.
If you're expecting a response, then you don't know whether you should do what you said. But you have to remember when it's air, ground, and information. When you're actually flying, it's down to you anyway, as it always is. So you're almost just saying what you're about to do. Yeah, I don't want to bust too much into the radio because we'll do that another time. But yeah. So anything else up the tower? Is everybody happy now with things like seeing the board? That they're literally, when they say strips, they really do mean strips of paper. They are writing it down. And up until quite recent, even the major airports still had those boards as backup. I don't think they do now, fine. I think they have other electronics as backups. But they certainly used to. Even Heathrow had those boards as emergency backup if,
Imagine the size of the board.
Oh, gosh, yeah. You can imagine, can't you?
The runways are protected thing, there's only one board in the runway slot.
That's it.
But where we go, free for all, really, would you say? There's no like checking us in and out of our north end.
No, that's right. No, that's it.
You're sort of self-managing.
Yes.
Traffic there.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's really, it is operational procedures. So we would normally teach. If you're hovering over the north side grass, that's that big play area, isn't it? That we can do what we like over there to within 2 degrees, as long as it's safe. I would normally teach. Imagine you've got a bit of a kind of a 50-foot bubble around you. That's your little area. And within reason, you should be able to wobble around in there and do what you like within that little bubble, because nobody ought to be getting that close to you. But you want to move out of that. You really ought to have a good look what's going on around you. So that's where the clearing turns come into play. You want to hover from here to over there somewhere. Fine, have a look round, but not just around. Don't forget to look up, because helicopters could be easily coming straight in over the top of you. So you have a good look around, make sure your helicopter's got the performance, etc., and then it's safe to manoeuvre. Because as you right say, it is literally self-managing over there.
Because I think sometimes a helicopter will just plop down.
Yeah.
Not far and not that in front of you. Kind of, it's like coming in from here and it just plops down. You're like, oh, very good. But you follow the same procedures. If everyone's in time, you'll pick up on the radio. You'll hear the pilot and helicopter saying they're on final for the north side grass. So that makes our ears prick up if we're hovering, thinking, right, okay, either we have a look so we can see what's going on, and we just generally stay still, just stay where you are.
Because presumably, there's a little bit of presumption there, but the pilot, he's already made allowance for the fact you're hovering maybe here, so they're going to approach over there. And the last thing they want you to do is now move, yeah, and get in the way. So you just stay still. But as the pilot in the hovering helicopter, I'd normally turn and have a look at what's going on, just in case, just in case they haven't seen us. But the visibility, I mean, you've already discovered. When have you been in a helicopter yet, Alex?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Yeah, have you flown one at all? Or, no, okay. So normally visibility is fantastic, especially sitting in the front, so you can see right past your feet. The cabin is like Grant's got. We've got chin bubble windows, we can literally see down through for you. Yeah, good. Okay, yeah, so the vis is great, so it's superb, but there's always little blind spots, so you could miss something. So it's a good idea to keep a lookout when you're on the ground hovering at what's going on around you and listen. So we do a lot of listening and try and build up a mental picture of where people are. If I'm teaching somebody to hover and you hear a helicopter saying they're on a high final rotation to the north side grass, we know they're going to be coming down pretty quickly, with not maybe as much control as normal because they're not using the engine for that maneuver. So we might deliberately get out of the way, knowing how much room they'll want. Or again, we'll turn around and have a good look for them, give them priority. Yeah. Oops, just realized my fingers are hanging down in front of the lens. And we can even say that we're doing quick stops on the north side grass, just so people know we're going to be going quite quickly across the grass to a different area of it if necessary. But it's all basically self-managing. Yeah, that's it. That's good news.
Curiosity question.
Yes.
When we flew a couple of weeks ago, can't remember if it was a helicopter or plane, asked to divert to the airfield.
Oh yes, that's right. Yes.
And they were going to presumably stay overnight, was the impression, or at least
yes.
Say they were staying overnight. Where do they we know where they land, but where do they park overnight?
Well, where we've just been walking, I mean, Elstree is very busy. There's not a lot of parking spaces out there, but they can, for something like that, they'll find somewhere along the lines.
Doctor would be left out because I presume the hangar's call.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. And you have to sort of pay for that as well, of course. That's a premium. So the helicopter's not too bad. That can just be left on the helipad. And the planes, yeah, they'll find somewhere to park that aircraft.
Bad weather diversion is free landing.
Yes, not all airports, but yes, that's right.
That's what Elstree said, wasn't it?
Yeah, most UK airports subscribe. I can't remember what it's called, but it's I think it's called something where they subscribe to it to say yes, if somebody diverts because of an emergency or weather or all these sorts of things, it's a free landing fee because it takes the pressure off of worrying about diverting to an aerodrome. Oh gosh, how much is it? Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like you can see, this is the whole thing, isn't it?
Can I land?
You're getting caught. You've been caught out by the weather because it's it is the UK. It does change quickly.
I have done it. I've gone to Duxford where I couldn't get into home.
You're right near a big airport like Stansted, for instance. I've just picked them because you said it. And the panic is, oh my god, if I land, oh my god, the fee's going to be horrific. But the idea is if they subscribe to it, they take away that element. It's kind of, no, of course, come and land, come and be safe, stay here for the night, blah, blah, blah. And hopefully tomorrow's a better weather day. So there's a lot of them. It's only, I know Heathrow doesn't subscribe to it because that's the last thing they need is somebody diverting into there. But I'm sure it feels really serious. And that was it. That was, just imagine that's the only place an aircraft could potentially get to. I'm sure they'd accommodate because to turn you away could probably mean, an accident. So yes, they did. Yeah, that's right. It did happen, didn't it? Yep. And I think they even said on the radio, said to them, it's a free landing fee just to take the pressure off.
Yes.
So they don't have to worry about what it's going to cost them or something along those lines.
And also helicopter or their car that intervened with the radio as well to say what the height of the clouds were.
That's right. Yeah. So you can hear suddenly, unofficially, other aircraft will now report what the weather's like near the airfield, so the one that's coming in can be reassured or be prepared for what they might expect. You sometimes hear them saying, we experienced a wind shear on final approach. So it can pre-warn other people flying the aircraft, watch it because you might get a bit of a wobble on the final approach, those sorts of things. So it's all very helpful. It works very well when it's all happening like that. Good, because wind shear does crop up in operational procedures. Yeah, they ask you about what the effects might be, but more of that another time. What else I was going to ask? I just quickly showed everybody on my phone anyway. The things like the taxi signs, the holding signs pointing to the taxiways, the runway signs, the yellow markings across the taxiway. So we know if it's yellow markings, it's a taxiway. And what colour are runway markings? Yeah, good. That's it. Yeah, because that one might crop up in the exams as well, those sorts of things. Good. Any other questions? All right. In that case, I think we'll send everybody home and have a slightly early evening. Thank you very much for joining us. Hey, that's it.
That's lovely. Thank you.
And gosh, if Catherine's going to talk, I can remember what it is in 4 weeks' time. She might not be able to talk at the moment. Don't know, can't remember. You'll all get the email anyway. Normally it would say in 4 weeks' time. It is. Ta-da!
I think it's flight performance and planning.
Ah, there we are. She's only she's there. Thank you. Oh, good. Yep, bit of flight performance and planning. So we'll look at some charts and look at planning a route to fly somewhere, see what gets involved, planning the fuel, etc., weight and balance, all those lovely things. Oh yeah, it's easy. Weight and balance is like a seesaw, a one-sided seesaw.
Yeah. I'm told weight and balance is the thing to. It's like a the boat. It's like the bane of people's lives.
I don't know why. It's so simple. Weight's easy. You just add up the weights, and as long as they stay within what you're allowed to have as a maximum and minimum, that's it. We would think about how it impact the performance of the aircraft. So if you operate very close to your max takeoff weight, good old vertical towering takeoffs are tricky, aren't they? Because it might not have the oomph to do what you want it to do.
I found with my 93 kilo passenger.
Yeah.
Good job I rang his wife. I went, how much does he weigh? 93 kilos.
A little bit less fuel.
Coming with a little bit less fuel.
Yeah, sometimes people aren't. They're a little economical with their weight. Oh, well, I was that 10 years ago with my clothes off, and in the morning for breakfast. Yeah, so weight's easy. Don't be. Oh, good. So good question on that one then. Why mustn't a helicopter be too light?
It's difficult. One it will take off, it can potentially take off.
I can definitely take off.
And if you're in auto rotation.
It's because they don't fall fast enough when we want them to, i.e. this thing called auto rotation. Yeah, if it's too light, it doesn't fall quick enough to get into auto rotation, enough airflow through the rotors. As a rough rule of thumb, most helicopters need to reach at least 1,200 feet per minute rate descent before they'll be self-sustaining RPM auto rotation. Just as a bit of an idea. So if you're too light, it just doesn't fall quick enough, and it won't maintain the RPM. And being too heavy is structural, performance, all these sorts of things. But so weight's easy. Literally, all you got to do is add up the weights. So I don't know why people moan about that one. Don't be too heavy, don't be too light. And balance is from nose to tail. Like I say, it's a bit like a one-sided seesaw. So the pivot point's actually at the front of the nose. So you measure everything after the datum, and you look at the force of moments, and you divide that by the sum total of weights, and you'll get your average centre of gravity. Oh, sorry, I've lost him.
Did, but I didn't do very well. But yeah.
Oh, it's easy.
If you enjoyed physics, then
Oh, it's easy. Look, it's just get a datum, right? So just a starting point. Measure the distance from that datum to something like the seat you're going to sit in. That could be your arm. That's the lever arm, isn't it?
Yep.
Look how much you weigh.
Yep.
Multiply that by the arm, and you get the moment of force.
Yes.
Brilliant. And you just do that for everything that could be added or removed in the helicopter, i.e. pilot, passenger, baggage, fuel, those sorts of things. Anything removable.
even the door.
Yeah. Add it all together, and then divide it by all of the weights, and you'll get your average balance point, the centre of gravity.
You only need to do it once. Because then once you got your license, you get a bit of electronics.
No, you don't. You're doing it every time. But then laterally, left and right is easy because, let's just say, loosely speaking, in the middle of the helicopter 0, if you add weight to the right, it's still arms and moments, but it's a plus. If you add something to the left, it's a minus. So if you put 10 of something, say 10 kilos to the right and 10 kilos to the left, and they have moved the same distance, they just cancel one another out. So it's easy. That's literally like a seesaw or a set of scales. Very simple. Very, very simple. So I don't know why everybody makes such a fuss about it.
Once you get it.
Yeah, it's really easy. Well, yeah, once you get the basics, it's so easy. It really is very easy.
Basically, you don't want Tony and Rich at the same side of the helicopter with full.
No, definitely not. Yeah. Although you said that, not me, Beth.
All right, in the Jet Ranger.
Yeah. I don't know. Even I reckon even those two could pull it out of balance.
I'd run out of cycling.
We'll find out next week.
Yeah, we can go back test.
Oh, and then it makes sense. Yeah, you know, potentially heavier people, you might want them closer to the main rotor mast, which is more the kind of like the center, if you like, of balance. So don't have heavy people up front if you can avoid it, because it makes it too nose heavy. But if you've got big fuel tanks and they happen to be behind the mast, they'll pull the tail down. So you definitely want weight in the front. So Beth on there has to have Jeremy Irons with you, don't you? So she has a 22.5 kilo weight on the seat and she flies by herself. I call it Metal Mickey, but she nicknamed Jeremy Irons.
No, Jeremy Irons.
So I have to strap that in with the seatbelts onto the seat to pull the nose down for her.
You had to create a Wayne, you can call it Jeremy Vane.
Hey, there we go. Very good.
That's brilliant. I like that.
Yeah.
That'd be more useful when I arrived.
Exactly.
Wherever I was, that's where the party would be.
That can be after, you know, popping across to France, isn't it?
Yeah, let's do it.